Thank you for joining me in one more episode of Ancestral Healing with Alida. And today we are going to talk about the ego and the different states of ego that we live with in our daily life. We're going to talk about the PAC, parent, adult, and child. The parent-adult-child is a model, a psychological theory from transactional analysis. It was developed by Eric Berne in the 50s. And basically, he used it to understand how humans interact with each other, basically how they interact and how they communicate with each other. So we're going to start with a parent. First, I'm going to tell you these three ego states live within you. You cannot escape. I don't want to have the child. I don't want to have the adult. I don't want to have the parent. We all have them. Okay. So first one, the parent represents the internalized attitudes, behaviors, and norms we learn from our parents or authority figures. This part of the self is often judgmental, nurturing, or controlling. There are two main types: the critical parent or the nurturing parent. The critical parent often harsh, judgmental, and is very is the authority. He wants to be the authority. And the nurturing parent is caring, supportive, and protective. Now, it doesn't mean that you have that ego state and you now I guess that you are thinking, because I start thinking about this too, about your own parents, right? It connects to you, who you are, and how I have developed this part of me in the parent side. It's not connected about my parents. Of course, me, myself, I had a nurturing mother. I had authority figure in my father, but they created themselves. They created theirs based on their own experiences. Now we're going to move to the adult, and the adult represents the logical, objective, reality-oriented part of ourselves. So the adult is very factual and process information without getting involved in so many emotions, and it helps us to navigate situations without being overly influenced by all patterns and by emotions that could be overloading our mind, our feelings. Child represents the emotional, creative, and childlike part of us. It is about a spontaneous behavior, feelings, and reactions that might stem from childhood experience. Now, in the child, you have two types of ego child. The free child that is playful, creative, spontaneous, ha ha ha, hi hi hi. And the adapted child that is very submissive, rebellious, or it conforms to rules depending on how the child was conditioned. So all of this, now I have the parent, the adult, and the child. All of them live within me. But I might have an attitude to be a critical father or a critical parent in my job. I could be a child with my partner. So we are going to start developing these ideas. We can also use the father-child relationships from this model that I'm going to call the PAC model, because it's the parent, adult, and child, to understand how, where or are our interactions with our parents and with our children and also with our partner, right? For example, I had a very critical parent, father, with me. He had that interaction with me. He projected that criticism with me, with love, but he projected. So he wanted me always to know everything. He wanted me to read, to learn everything that I can at a fast speed, right? He wanted me to be the best on anything. He wanted me to be tough, to be independent, to tough in every sense, in my mind and also physically, right? If I don't know how you score in United States, you score the grades from A, B, C in letters. In my country, it wasn't like that at that time. It was from 0 to 20. 20 was the highest grade. So he would just want me to get 18, 19, 20, right? And for example, with me, sometimes I notice with my own daughter that I am sometimes a critical parent. I try to avoid it as much as I can, but I'm way more nurturing, right? I nurture giving her food, cuddling her, telling her many times that I love her. But sometimes I have seen some reactions of me that I say like, why you didn't do that? You can do it, right? But there is this fine line between giving her space and also me pushing her to be better, right? From my perspective. So we are going to see some parent ego state. A critical parent. A critical parent, what is an example of what a critical parent will be saying? You should always finish your work before you relax. That's one for me. That's not how we do things here. Follow the rules or there will be consequences. I haven't got that, but I have heard that too. A nurturing parent, in the opposite way, what this nurturing parent, supportive, caring, protective parent will say? It's okay to make mistakes. Everyone does. What matters is that you try again. That's one for me too. The other example, you must be exhausted. Take a break and rest. I help with the task. And that's another fine line too, right? Because sometimes you want your kids to have chores and to be responsible to finish their chores, but also you don't want them to be overexhausted. You want them to feel your support. The adult, when I'm in my adult, how I think, or a person that I see, if are they in their adult when they are talking to me, what will they say? Let's look at the facts and see what needs to be done to solve this problem. I use the word facts every single time in my life, but I think that I use it different because I have these facts were very connected to my legal mind as a lawyer. We have another example. We have $500 in the budget. We need to prioritize which expenses are most important. Also me. The other example, I'll check the weather forecast before deciding if we should postpone the event. That's a good one. I have said that before. Let's check about expressions and statements that a child ego state will say. A free child that is playful, spontaneous, joyful, what will he say? Example 1 will be, I want to play. Let's go outside and have some fun. Second example, this game is so much fun. I don't want to stop. The adopted child, the compliant, rebellious, and sometimes anxious child will say, I have to clean my room or I'll get in trouble. Another example, I don't want to do it that way. I think it's wrong. So these ego states represent different internal voices or modes of interacting with the world. People switch between them in various situations, and understanding these states can help improve communication and relationships. In a relationship, you also come with these three states of your ego, of I'm a parent or an adult or a child. And let me tell you that sometimes I feel that I'm not in my adult in my relationship and I'm a very of a critical parent, but I mix, right? You don't stay a critical parent your whole time. How long have I've been married for 15 years. I'm not 15 years, I'm not gonna be the critical parent. Like you switch, right? Depends of the situation. So in a relationship, a critical parent in a relationship, one partner might act as the parent in that relationship, trying to control or criticize the other. For example, if one partner constantly says things like, you never do things right, or why can't you be more responsible? That's a critical parent. This could be coming from a critical parent mindset, okay? From the person that is saying it. This might make the other person feel inferior or resentful. And what I always say about relationships is that if you make your partner feel inferior, there is no balance in your relationship. You have to be equal, exactly. And also creates tension in the relationship. Another example. One partner scolds the other for forgetting to do a chore, or makes judgmental comments about how they dress or their behavior. For me, it's basically to forgetting to do a chore. I love my husband, but sometimes he forgets. Actually, sometimes I forget too, but I don't see what I don't do, right? Nurturing parent. Like on the flip side, first that we should not parent our partners, right? But how it's gonna look if I have a partner or if I act as a nurturing partner towards or to my partner. The nurturing parent ego might show up when one partner is overly caring, protective, or even smothering. For instance, one partner might overcompensate by saying, you look tired. Let me take care of everything for you. I have never said that. I don't think that I will ever say it. I'll always be here to make sure you are okay. And yeah, I had a session yesterday with a person and she's going through a break up with her current partner. But she's saying this, like, I got some blood tests, she told me, and they don't look very good. They want me to do a scan or something else, another more blood tests. And when I talked to my partner, to my husband, he didn't care. He I don't think that he's gonna retract himself of this separation, of this breakup, because he doesn't protect me. He doesn't want to be here with me while I am sick. And I was like, first of all, you are not sick, right? Because you don't have the all the results. Second, you want him to come back with you only because you are sick. You are going to create this illness for you if you are thinking like that. So my partner is not in charge for me to be okay. Neither I am in charge for him to be okay. We are both okay, and then we are together. Sometimes we think that it's going to be comforting, or that we are going to be nice, saying like, I take care of you, but actually it creates such an imbalance in the relationship that I think that I would prefer to avoid to say that and don't say anything. That's my the way that I see it. Then also, when you give advice, or you give or always do things for the other person, saying things like this: don't worry about it, I'll take care of it for you. In that relationship, you have chores, you have things that are specifically that you are going to do. For example, today it is snow in Massachusetts. I had to come here. I have 2 sessions, so my husband knows that he needs to shovel. Sometimes I will help him to shovel, but he knows that I'm going to cook. So it's just, we know already what we are going to do, right? So am I going to say like, don't do the shoveling, I'm going to do all the shoveling for you, and then I'm going to postpone my appointments? I'm not going to do that. How an adult ego state interacts in a relationship. When both partners are in their adult ego state, they are able to communicate calmly, logically, and constructively. And after years of being married, I can tell you that that's been my relationship 90% of the time in the last 6 years, 5 years. But before that, so that 8 years or 7 years prior to that, it wasn't much like that. And now I can see that we are mostly an adult in a relationship. 3 weeks ago or something, I didn't like something that my father-in-law said. Like, I was just like this. I didn't have enough patience, and I went into my control parent towards my husband. Okay. And probably my child too, because I was overloaded with emotions. So there are things that goes like waves, right? You are not always in the same state. There are not the same emotions, your hormonal imbalances. Like, there are so many things that happens that can create also an imbalance in your ego state towards your partner, but you have to always try to come back and acknowledge what's going on. So the adult ego is the healthiest and most balanced state for resolving conflict or discussing difficult topics. So I'm gonna move in a little bit about that relationship, and I'm gonna say, now that in America, I've never seen this in my life, that everyone is so angry, or most people are fighting. Everyone is fighting, blue, red, fighting, but with so many emotions, overload of emotions. Are we in an adult? And I include me. Are we in an adult, or are we acting as a child or as a controlling parent? So let's go back to the adult ego state in a relationship. In this state, both people are able to look at the situation objectively and have a rational discussion about their feelings, needs, and solutions. Let's say an example. If there is a disagreement about how to spend money or how to divide household chores, both partners might calmly discuss the issue, listen to each other's viewpoints, and find a solution that works for both. The adult ego state also helps each person maintain personal boundaries and take responsibility for their feelings and actions. And that's key. And I learned that one from my husband. Someone can punch me in the face, and it's always gonna be my will to react, to respond, and the feelings that I bring connected to that thing. Probably I'm gonna get mad. Being honest, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, you have a difficulty, let me give you a free session." No, my husband might say that. He's in that state. He's like that. But I have to take responsibility of my own actions. Today, someone told me, not today, yesterday, I was talking about COVID. I wasn't even talking about COVID. There was a document about COVID that the Senate released in November or something. So I posted replying to someone saying that she didn't want her friend to go to a trip because she was tested positive for COVID 5 days prior to the trip. So I said, like, is that the testing is still something that is so factual that you believe 100%? And a person replied to me and she said, for people like you, like me, like you, is that I am sick. So I said, like, take responsibility of your own health. Like, I don't want to get controversial, but why am I going to be causing her an issue when I don't get sick? I don't get sick. I have never had COVID. I have never had the flu, and I'm never going to have them. I'm not going to have them. I don't know. You have to take responsibility from your feelings and your actions. That's it, in every single level. So, when you are in an adult, basically you are not in a defensive mode, but you also don't have emotional outbursts. When one partner says, I feel hurt when you don't follow through on your promises, they are speaking from the adult ego state, which is direct, honest, and non accusatory. Please, I want to highlight this non accusatory because I can say, like, hey, I didn't like that you didn't clean up this. I asked you to do it. Or I can say, I didn't like that you didn't clean up this. I asked you to do it, like many other times that you always forget things because you are the same than your father. You always forget. Do you see? That's the accusation. In the beginning of my relationship, I think that I was that little girl looking for her father because I had that concept. So in the child ego state, how a child ego state represents in our relationship. If it's a free child that is joyful and playful and curious, the free child ego state in a relationship is often about having fun, playfulness, and enjoying life together. When partners are in their free child state, they might enjoy spontaneous activities like dancing, playing games, or simply being goofy together. I think that I dance a lot. For example, going on a spontaneous adventure, doing something silly, or joking around in a playful way. The free child adds a sense of joy and lightheartedness to the relationship. But the adapted child ego state often appears when one partner is feeling anxious, rebellious, or submissive. If a partner feels pressure or neglected, they might retreat into an adapted child ego state, either becoming overly compliant or rebellious. This is an example. One partner might pout or give the silent treatment when they don't get their way, or they might act out with temper tantrums or passive aggressive behavior. I have done it. On the other hand, they might also comply with things just to avoid conflict, even if they aren't truly happy. And I think that would have been my husband. Well, we are not. We have. I think that we have a healthy relationship, but I have done that silent treatment. Actually, I think that I do a lot of the silent treatment because I don't want to say something to hurt. But of course, the silent treatment should be just for a little bit. I guess that should not be for 5, 7 days, right? And so let's see how these states interact in relationships. Parent-child dynamics. Parent and child dynamics. When one partner is in a critical parent state and the other one is in an adapted child state, the adapted child, remember, this is a submissive, rebellious. When the other one is overcritical, it often leads to tension, frustration, or resentment. For example, if one partner always takes on a parental role, giving advice or making decisions for the other, it can feel infantilizing to the other partner. This can lead to the child feeling restricted or rebellious, or the parent feeling unappreciated. So if I have a partner that is in the critical parent, they want to help and control, and I have an adoptive child that wants to be rebellious, doesn't want to listen to the norms, follow the rules, and is very overwhelmed with emotions, and this one keeps telling him what to do, but this is rebellious. How this relationship is gonna work out? I don't think so. Adult communication is always the goal. Adult communication, and the thing for me is, like, now I recognize when I start going to my adopted child or to my controlling parent mode while I'm talking to my husband, I recognize it and I retrieve, I remove, or I do something else, or I say sorry. I have learned those things. As a parent, as an adult, you can have these states because you go as waves with these states, right? And sometimes I dance a lot. I dance a lot because I like to dance. So sometimes my husband comes and plays with me and dances with me. He dances with me. Or sometimes now that we've been doing snowboarding, well, we have been doing is too many people. My husband and my daughter, they have been doing snowboarding and I'm learning. But my first try, I didn't like it because I couldn't stand up. So I quit. So then he said like, you quit. And I was like, yeah, I was tired. But I felt offended that he was a critical parent, but I didn't say anything. It was like, yes. And right? So you can cut the conversation right there or you can keep going. That's your own decision. So, how can we balance these states in our relationship? Recognizing ego states. Being aware of which ego state you and your partner are during conversations or disagreements can help improve communication and reduce misunderstandings. For example, if one person is being overly critical, it can be helpful to recognize that the other person is reacting from their adapted child state and then shift into an adult approach. So I always have that in mind when I'm interacting, especially with my husband. And I think that I need to start doing this more when I'm interacting with other people that don't think, especially with health topics, the same than I think. Adult communication, another way to balance the ego states in a relationship. The adult communication strives to stay in the adult ego state when discussing issues that need to be addressed. This allows for more rational, calm, and productive conversations without being emotionally charged or defensive. Embrace playfulness, incorporate a free child into your relationship for a healthy sense of fun and creativity. Support each other's needs. Be mindful of when either partner might be falling into a parent or child state. And that's my husband is so good at this. He recognizes when I'm getting into my child state. But the thing is like for me, because I'm in my adapted child state, he pointed out while I'm like coming with that thing, with that emotion, with that ego. He said like, basically said like, you are in your adapted child ego state. And I don't like it that he said it that way, but that might be also my own child, right? Talking. When this happens, it's helpful to offer support and gently encourage an adult conversation. And that's the thing. If you gently say like, hey, remember the adult ego state, that's for me. I would prefer that he said like, I would like to have this conversation in your adult ego state instead of saying like, now you are in your child ego state, right? So there is a beautiful exercise that sometimes, most of the time, I'll do it during my classes. And if you want to do it, you are welcome to do it now. It takes just a couple minutes. And I would prefer that you be standing up, but you can be sitting down. Don't do this while you are driving. And you have to be in a quiet space without expectations, without anyone interrupting this exercise. But you try to have a paper and a pen or a pencil next to you so then you can take notes, okay? So the first thing is like if you're standing up or if you're sitting down, I want you to inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale. And now I want you to feel your body, feel the sensations in your body, feel your temperature. If you are relaxed, if you feel any contractions, if you feel any tension. So now I want you to look up to the ceiling and start looking at the ceiling for just a little bit, paying attention if something is shifting in your body. If the temperature is shifting, if you are more tense, if you are more relaxed, if you feel comfortable looking at the ceiling or you really don't like it. If you would like to stay there in that position longer or you just want to move from this and just finish this part of the exercise. So now you're going to come back and I want you to look at me at the camera. And now I want you to inhale and exhale. And I want you to find a point right straight where you're looking at, the way that I'm looking at, just straight on the horizon, a point. And I want you to stay there. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And I want you to pay attention to how balanced you feel with your feet and your legs. If you feel stable and strong, looking straight to this point. If you feel comfortable, if you would like to stay here longer, if you feel tension in your body or if you feel relaxation. Okay, Now we're gonna move to the last part. And in the last part, you have two options. If you are sitting down, you can stay sitting down. But if you are standing up, you can lay down in the floor on one side, any side, right or left, any side that you want. So I want you to inhale and I want you to exhale. And I want you to start feeling the sensation that your spine doesn't have any weight. It's like your spine doesn't exist. And because your spine doesn't have any weight and any strength, cannot hold your head, neither your legs or your feet. So you are going to start curling if you're sitting down because you don't have any strength in that spine. And if you are laying down, you're going to start curling and curling, 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 like if you are going to make yourself very tiny. And while you are doing this, I want you to see if you are feeling comfortable or if you are feeling tension, if you're feeling that you can breathe, if you feel that you would like to stay like this longer, or if you would like to move from this position, if you feel colder or warmer. So now I want you to come back up and you sit down to keep listening to me, and I'm going to explain to you something. The first position that you did was the parent. What is your parent ego state? If you felt uncomfortable, probably you are in the controlling parent state, or you have that information. You don't want to receive norms, you don't want to follow rules. It's not an ego state that you are comfortable with. The second ego state was the adult, the one that you were looking straight. If your legs and feet were weak, you didn't feel strong, is that you need to work on your adult ego state to maximize the strength that comes from that position, right? Because any interaction that you have with someone in a relationship, with your kids, or with your friends, in a political discussion, in anything in your work, should come from your ego state. That's the optimal. And the last one was the child. If my child wasn't comfortable, I had so much tension in that position. But don't start analyzing, no, because my belly is too big and it's uncomfortable. No, just the sensations. Don't start like analyzing every single sensation, right? If it wasn't comfortable, well, you are living, or you have lived in an adopted child, and that's what is more recurrent in you. So now how I can have more of my playful child. So this is a good exercise to do, and to see where the states, or to have self-awareness of how I do interact with other people, especially in my relationships. So now this is another exercise, and this is going to be the last one for today, is that I want you have to choose the last interaction that was very meaningful for you in the last week. Who did you have an interaction with? Could be your partner, your child, your father-in-law, your mother, whoever. You choose a person. You had an interaction. It doesn't mean that you were fighting. You had an interaction that it was important for you during the last 7 days. So now you choose a person, right? Now, I want you to write down in your paper how you felt and reacted during that conversation. It could be one or two statements. Do you feel like a nurturing parent, an adult, or a child? And now I want you to remember 2 or 3 specific moments in that conversation. Were you giving advice in a parental way? If you were, was a critical or nurturing parent? Were you being logical and objective as an adult? Did you feel playful or perhaps emotionally reactive like a child? Now, I want you to reflect on how each ego state influenced the conversation. Could the conversation have gone differently if you had responded from a different state? The goal of this exercise is to build awareness of your default ego states and to help you choose which state to operate from more consciously. So again, I have recognized sometimes I come from my critical parent, and actually with my critical parent potentialize when I am the lawyer of the company, when I have to sue someone, or when an employee of us has done something that wasn't supposed to. It's just like, it just grows so much, right? And my child wound, my child that wants to is so emotional, it's more with my husband. Not all the time, as I told you, like I have changed a lot. Like I have recognized a lot of patterns. So I hope that this episode was helpful for you. I hope that you have a wonderful day today. Please give a like, share my episodes. That helps me so much. I'm planning to complete I'm almost done with my tarot, my ancestral tarot deck. So I think that that's going to be a good thing to have. Also, you can go to my Instagram, that is Ayamama Alida, and you can also check my website, ayamama.org. Currently, I'm having 30% off up until March 19th because it's my birthday, and you can use the coupon code birthday for any sessions online or in person that you want to do with me. And I also have candles that are supportive ancestral healing candles, organic soy wax, no fragrances, and you have inner child healing, you have ancestor help and revelation, you have new beginnings, and you have let go. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on Spotify, but also on YouTube. Bye bye.